Hello, everyone. It's Renee Sanchez. How are you?
Hi, Renee.
Oh. I had you on mute.
Dion's calling me.
Oh, just texting.
Dion is co-host, so you should be able to.
Hey,
unmute his line.
how's it going? Yeah, I heard you. Well, I saw your text, so. Okay. Yeah, no.
I don't
Oh, yeah,
know,
that thing will do it.
I don't know if Emily's coming. She's usually here a little bit early.
Yeah, well, yeah, do your
Yeah.
best. Take care of yourself.
Okay, try it.
Dion, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, Max.
Okay, good deal. Thanks.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Loud and clear.
Good. Few problems. I guess
All right, Max, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Great, thank you. Is Emily Covey there?
No, sir. Emily Covey's out. Berna Gonzalez is here in her place this evening.
Okay, have her take the roll when it's time.
Okay. Emily's on Zoom, but Berna's here to do that role.
Okay, well, I hope for a speedy recovery for Emily.
Yeah, she wasn't feeling well.
Let us begin the meeting. Call to order at 5:30. 5:30. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Ortiz, would you do the honors, please?
I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag
of the United
of
States,
the United States of America
to the
and
republic
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would the roll call be done right now?
Dr. Guy Archibald,
Here.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Here.
Ron Ortiz,
Here.
Richard Jones, Dion Sandoval.
Here.
Hi, Dion.
Way to go, Dion.
4 members present.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda by the superintendent or any board members? If so, what? If not, is there a recommendation?
Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Is there a motion? So moved by Emily Hunt Daly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ron Ortiz to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Against? Aye. Motion carries. Adoption of the minutes for October 20th, 2020. Do we have any changes? Board members, you want to take a quick peek at it?
Already did.
Is there a recommendation for approval of the minutes?
I recommend that we adopt those minutes as presented for October 20th.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes of October 20th, 2020.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Emily Hunt Daly to approve the minutes of October 20th, 2020 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those against, motion carries. Recognition.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Board, once again, I'm hesitant to point out specific people during the recognitions in the times that we're in. But I always want to be sure and recognize all of the employees there. I've been out to different schools over the last couple of weeks, and I have to give public recognition to all of our teachers, our principals, our staff members, our cooks, our bus drivers at the schools. It appears that things are going well, organized, and everybody's doing everything they can to keep the students and staff safe and healthy. So kudos to all the employees and everybody that's putting in the teamwork for the Grand Cibola County School students.
Thank you. I'd like to make a quick comment, and maybe Mr. Pettis, you'd like to follow up with that. The board is following the New Mexico rules on group congregation, and and I myself am not able to physically attend due to family medical conditions that prevent me from participating in a meeting in such a closed setting. Is there anything else you need to say, Mr. Pettis?
Yes, sir. I'd like to, I've heard and read a few things over the last week where there seems to be some concern about all of us showing up here at the boardroom for the board meetings. I just want to make it clear to the public that we're following the executive order in which we're gathering in a 5-to-1. Right here in the boardroom right now, we have 5 people present. If we were to bring additional board members in, we'd have to change that setup. And it wouldn't really, it wouldn't help us to bring the entire board in because we'd have to split up here anyway, because I have to be present, my assistant has to be present, and we usually have a technology person present. So just, it's not because board members do not want to be here at the meeting. It is because we're following the executive order and playing by the rules for those people that are present. There's also a comparison done to the schools. I have to remind people that despite what I read, students are not being crammed into the classrooms. It is students are being separated. We're following all the rules. We've been monitored and checked out by the state, and I've been around, checked things.
Why don't we talk about that at the presentation portion of it?
Okay, if I could just finish my comment, please, sir.
Sure.
I just want to make it clear that we are following the rules for the boardroom and for the schools. And just so we know that contrary to some of the statements that have been made. Thank you.
Yeah, once again, I need to let you know that I'm not able to attend due to my family medical conditions that prevent me from participating in a meeting like this, and I hope people will be considerate of that. Board members do also have medical circumstances that may cause us difficulty in attending. That is why we are able to function in this manner, in a virtual setting, conducting the business of the district properly. And we ask that you, everybody in the community, give consideration to that and respect our desire to protect ourselves too. Thank you very much. 5:30. V, citizens to address the board.
Mr. President, board, there have been no requests to address the board.
All right, thank you. Presentations, Mr. Pettis.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. President, board, through all of the situations that we've been in, needless to go into detail, it's been a challenge, and we have made some progress throughout the few months and the few weeks as we begun hybrid. I believe we're in our 3rd week of hybrid, and of course, we're responding to situations as they come up, as they occur. You know, there have been positive cases. We do get the message out to the folks that are in the area. We are working on building a communication system so that we will have the number of cases and the number of quarantines per site on our website, but we're still building that system, so that's up and coming. Because I believe we had 2 on Friday, 2 situations, 2 yesterday, and we just think it's good, and it's a good thing to have that transparent and get that information out to the public on our website. So alongside that, as I was saying, we've been out to several schools and getting to see a lot of the hybrid model with the whiteboards, some students in class, getting to talk to teachers, talking to students, talking to all the staff at several of the schools. making it work, but I can tell you that the general theme is it's hard work, as I mentioned last board meeting. It's definitely hard work. People are adjusting, they're getting creative. We have everything that I've seen is the teachers are on target with their academic focus. We worked really hard to build an aligned, standard aligned system of delivery. And we can see evidence of that in just about every classroom that I visited this last 2 weeks. So I think that's the good side of it. I think despite everything that's gone on, the teachers are very intentional. They're working very hard to keep the students engaged, which is a big challenge. And we are beginning to measure, as we've been wanting to do, to see what the learning loss may have been over the spring and how we can continue that, how we're going to approach that. And we meet very regularly to continue to identify the gaps in our data, to continue to address the needs of all the students. So there's, without getting into a whole lot of details in any specific one, I just think it's important to know that the administrators and principals are working very hard to strategize and build a structure through the 90-day plans to attack and keep our academic focus high. You know, the last thing we want to see is any kind of a downturn in our academic expectations. We'll share a little bit of the data this evening with Ms. Renee Sanchez. She's on, and she'll have some information to share about our first quarterly assessment. Ms. Sanchez, are you on? You want to share your screen?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Pettis, good afternoon, and I will begin by sharing my screen. Okay, so I'm able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so right now, as we get into the academic update, this is going to be a really granular focus on the achievement so far. Everything at this moment in time is live, and Mr. Perez had acknowledged the standard aligned learning system. We're moving with the same system that we started when Mr. Perez came on board on the collaborative approach, our PLC structure. The goal in our strategic plan started off with teacher aligning instruction. We still remain steadfast on that goal. We rely on our support system of instructional coaches that meet weekly. The implementation and support continue that collaborative structure. And I'm going to keep saying collaborative structure over and over because everything we do here is done as a team and a unit. We continue to look at the standard for review, student performance, assessments, student work. We rely on our interim assessments as a tool to guide our instruction, and we are constantly making those adjustments and interventions. The principal role, we delve deep into the 90-day plan starting in June with a root cause analysis. We focused, the principals are focusing on classroom visits still, feedback that aligns to our desired outcomes. And then again, we remain with a collaborative framework to focus on student learning. So right now, I'm going to delve deep into the current progress. This is live data, currently 4th grade. I'm just going to talk about our system. We have currently district-wide 132 students that have tested. Probably at this point in time, we have more by the end of the day. At this moment in time, we have 32%, which is 42 students that have mastered the standards that were taught during the first quarter. 85 students are approaching or exceeding students, which is 76%. We have 45 students which is about 22% below expectations right now. So I'm going to show you a visual of what that looks like and our purpose. Keep in mind, this is interim data that's focused on the standards that were taught, the same standards that were taught last year and the same standards that were taught this year on the first quarter. So if you look at this area, we have advanced, the same numbers, 15, 27 proficient, 43 at the basic. Of these, we have 85 students at approaching or exceeding expectations, where we have the remaining students here that are below basic or far below. When we delve deep into this data axis, once we click on the area of need, we have the names of students, their scores, what standard they struggled in. So the overarching goal, to simplify everything, we want to decrease our basic level, decrease our below and far below level, and of course, increase our advanced and proficient. And what the collaborative structure does is take a deep dive on every student. They meet weekly, grade level teams, support teams, and administrators. So let's look at the comparison. This is data to compare the standards that were taught in 2019, 20, and 2021, which is this year, the same standards in quarter one. So this particular standard, 4.4, is vocabulary. Last year, this is the blue, 2019, we've increased by far this year on improvement. And this is every standard. So far what we're looking at, and I diagnosed maybe some of the root causes of this. What I'm finding as I talk to more and more parents, we actually have a lot of parent engagement. Regardless of our struggles, we're seeing that parent engagement has an impact on achievement. I was anticipating more struggle, but when you look at a deep dive into just one area of fourth grade, we're seeing some improvement. There are gaps that we're looking deeper into as well. So when we look at our standard aligned focus, and you look at the entire district, from kindergarten through 12th, every teacher is lining up our arrows. And for the first quarter, we're teaching these three standards using teacher talent. So every student is inferencing, summarizing, and developing. And so we made it simple. Just from referring to details to determining the main idea to explaining the events in a technical way of what happened and why. So our entire district is focused on that. The same thing of what it looks like in the math comparison. If we look at our standards that were taught in math last year and the standards that were taught in math this year, what we're finding, all the work on the deep dive of standards for the past 2 years, almost 2 years, we're showing that students were able to retain information. Because look at this standard here, there was a decrease, and you can see that there's decrease in standards. So we can really narrow down our focus where we saw learning loss. But what we're looking at, the standards of strength, this standard in particular, there was a decrease. So we, as a team, continue those collaborative work sessions. So I'm gonna keep looking at the comparison data. Here's 5th grade and 6th grade. Again, you're seeing some increases in ELA, and you're gonna notice some decreases in math, along with some increases. That's 5th grade data. Okay, so right here in 6th grade data, ELA is showing some decreases here. So we would take a deep dive on what's happening there. 6th grade in math, however, we did some adjustments in math, and you're seeing some standards that are increasing. So you can see exactly how instruction looks at the district level. Here's 7th grade. Keep in mind, 7th and 8th grade were our lowest performing group. Some of the areas in algebra, 7th and 8th were extremely low. We're seeing an increase, and we're seeing some improvements in ELA again, along with gaps and challenges. Math, we're seeing a huge increase in math. There was big changes at the middle school in math. So we're seeing those increases in math. We're looking at 8th grade, and I'm going through this just so that way we can get into the overarching picture. There's some increases and decreases. Right here, we're narrowed down our focus and focusing only on the standards that were taught compared to last year. These are new standards that needed to be taught, but the comparison is only for the standards that were taught. Ninth grade, we're delving deeper into standards. So there was some standards that weren't taught in quarter 1 that needed to be taught in quarter 2. So we do not have a comparison there, but through a root cause analysis, we're finding that we need more standards in math because of our gaps. And then you look at 10th grade, the same scenario. We taught different standards in 1920, but we just rearranged them to see which are the most impactful for quarter 1. Okay, and so then we go into Algebra 1 and geometry, same type of picture. We compared 2 standards here, 1 increase and 1 decrease, and we just diagnose. Right now, we have a large mathematic team. I'll get into that in a few minutes as we go a little deeper. Algebra 2, you can see that we're starting to compare individual standards at the granular level. And so overall, what does this look like? Number of students right here is a total number of students that we have. Keep in mind, this data window is open up until November 13th. It's live data, so we're still getting there. The green is how many students we have in 4th grade total. The red is number of students that were assessed. Out of the number that were assessed, we have 32% of the students that are proficient or advanced. In 5th grade, we have 44%. So they're still testing, but we're ranging at right now at this moment in time, 44%, 21% in 6th grade. 7th grade, we're making a breakthrough in 7th grade. So far out of the ones tested, we have 61% proficient in those standards. And then 49% in 8th, 28% in 9th. 10th and 11th, they're still testing. So we have 2% and 0% because we just have a few students tested there. If we look at math, the same thing, 20. And you can see the trend that we have some live data there. So the whole process delves deep into the 90-day plan. Every principal has built their core team since June or before that, since the beginning of our 2-year 90-day plan progression. And they analyze and set achievement goals, not only for that align with the district, they align with the site, and then the students are setting goals too. They're walking into an assessment setting goals. We prioritize, go deep into a root cause. We have implementation, we monitor our progress. I just shared with you the current progress. Meeting with principals every 30, 60, and 90 days to review and reflect for next steps. So that process continues for the past 2 years. It hasn't skipped a beat. So this connects to our goal, number 1, to foster excellence in academic achievement. So right now, at this moment in time, all schools are focused on the standards. There's an assessment and schedule in place. The collaborative structure, which I keep referring to over and over, is in place to build that teacher and leadership capacity. And again, we never forget our social emotional learning and interventions. That collaborative process targets the academic needs of all students by delving deep into student work and analyzing systems. So right now, when you look at our student-centered learning system, we have our leaders support student learning. We have our teachers providing aligned instruction. We have our leadership system of accountability to ensure implementation, and our support system of coaches. This is just a piece of the puzzle. We also have our support teams, our counselors, our health, and that ties into our leadership systems and leader support with every department. But the visual is to say our arrows are now pointing in the same direction. We're seeing the same challenges, and we're also championing some success at the sites. So right now, as we delve deep into our math design, last year, the first year was a focus was ELA, and we're seeing some growth. Right now, we're partnering up with NMSU campus and some math experts within our school community to design our math curriculum to provide us information for next steps, starting from 6th grade on up to the college level. So students have a pathway and we can diagnose those achievement gaps as they enter college. So at that point, this is just a quick overview. I'm up for questions if you have any questions.
I'd just like to make a point of clarification. The data, as she alluded to, is the window's still open. So there are still our students and will be students still taking that test. So that'll change somewhat in the next week or two.
Okay, Mr. President, a couple of questions, okay? The assessments, those are live assessments in the Illuminate program. Are they tests that the students take both virtually and in class?
Yes, Ms. Hunt Daly, they do take them in class and it's used as an instructional tool. So they take them remotely and in class. It's available.
Okay,
And again, like Mr. Pettis said, it is a live instructional tool. So we use the results to see their student work, see how they performed, to design our curriculum. It's just a tool at this point in time to help guide our instruction.
do you show any difference, or have you looked at the data on which group of students is performing at a higher level, the ones that are logging in virtually or the ones that are in the actual classroom? And I know you noticed that you mentioned that there's been a lot of parental support, or I'm grateful for that. I think more parents need to be involved, but not to the extent where they're providing answers for the kids on the assessments and stuff. That's why I'd be interested in which group of kids is performing at a higher level, percentage level, the ones virtually or the ones in the classroom.
Right, and that's a very good point, Ms. Daly. So the students, as the teachers connect with all their students and families, for the most part, parents are becoming support for teachers, and they're helping teach the students. And so even if they help teach the students are still learning the system because there are other ways to show student work on achievement. So this is one of the ways. And so at the end of the window, we can do a good comparison to see which ones are performing better. That's an excellent comparison.
Yeah, and the reason I asked is because I know that there's data from other schools in the state where they saw such a deep increase, even in the kindergarten and the elementary. Comparing to last year's, there was 100% improvement, and so we know that in the education field that's very rare. 100%. In fact, there was 100. Some of them were 110%. From where they were last year to where they are today. And so it was just a question that people were asking is how much of it is truly the students' assessment, or is it the assessment of assistance that they're getting from outside the classroom, I guess you might say. But I'm glad that that's only one piece of assessment you're using, that you have other means of assessing data rather than just tests on the Illuminate, and so that we can truly get an honest perspective of the kids' improvement and the percentage of progress that they're making. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daly.
Questions, board members?
Renee, have we connected with most of our students?
Yes, sir. Majority of students are connected. The ones that are not connected, which is less than 50 students, where there's a contingency plan that the teacher does connect with them every day and guides them through packets. So I could say they're connected. We're just using contingency plans for the ones that are waiting for networks.
Okay.
Okay, another question, Renee, I'm sorry.
No worries.
he mentioned packets. Do we have a percentage of how many students are returning the packets completed or not returning them? Are we looking at that data as well?
Yes, when a packet is returned, it justifies an attendance and a full connection. So it's checked on daily, just like in the traditional setting. It's heavily monitored through more points other than just taking roll call. They connect with the teacher, they work through the packet, they talk through the packet. If they can't get the packet to the school individually, they talk through the work and make sure the learning is taking place, even if the packet stays at home.
Are the teachers posting their lesson plans in the classroom so that students can stay on track? What assignments that are being delegated to them?
Yes,
I mean-
there's a Google Drive for in case there's a shutdown or a snow day. Teachers can upload all the assignments that are ready. So having a substitute plan or a remote plan is available for all students. They can just go in there and download it from the drive, even if they do not have a connection. So teachers are expected to have a remote substitute plan.
The question I was asking is like a weekly lesson plan posted on the classroom, in each classroom, so that the student can view that lesson plan and say, oh, this is what we're supposed to be, this is what we're going to be doing Monday, this is what we're going to be doing Tuesday. So in that case, they're able to follow along and maybe even do the advanced readings so that there's more participation in the classroom, because they've seen the lesson plan and they've seen what it is that they need to read or what activities they need to complete.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So yes, there is in Google Classroom, there's an area where everything is posted and the readings, and if students need anything, of course, they connect with their teacher. But there is a weekly plan, weekly announcements. You could see them coming in every week as you delve into the Google Classroom.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Perez and Ms. and Renee, would you describe our progress in with the seniors in terms of the next step plans and their programs of study?
Mr. Perez, do you want me to address that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and start.
Okay, so Mr. President, so what we're doing with the senior support plan, right now there's about 206 seniors at Grants High School and 55 seniors at Laguna Acoma High School. And within that, there's credit recovery students, and there's students that that are having failing grades. So there is a team of support for the next step plans. We have the counselor, we have outside resources, and tribal affiliation leaders and liaisons, along with community support to complete that senior support plan. But that's on the forefront with the senior support. We're still moving forward in that. Mr. Jackie Sanchez has set up individual meetings, and there's a team at the high school that does the same thing.
And all the next step plans have been reviewed and approved and signed off by parents and students?
Individual parents on all seniors are connecting with the principals and getting those signed. They follow a schedule and a guideline to make sure their pathway is ready for graduation. We talk a lot about we won't graduate any seniors unless they meet all expectations, and there's some intense interventions going on right now with teams to working with one student, and it just keeps going forward. But the interventions are really powerful.
The at the middle schools, I've asked the question. I haven't read the next step plans myself, but I know Reina Sanchez has done a lot of work on seeing that those are all intact. And I believe that Mr. Sanchez for the middle school is also working on those. Fewer students, but I think I believe those are all in order. I know at the middle school level, for sure, I haven't looked at the upper grades. But haven't heard any issues. I do know that it's on the forefront of the counselors, mid-school, high school counselors, and the administrators and the instructional coaches to be looking at those. But it's an area that I can look into and bring some solid data information. If you would like for that, like for us to do that.
Mr. President, I think that would be essential for us to know, and also to report that, make sure that the parents are provided, I don't know if it's weekly or bi-weekly reports on their students' progress. Because sometimes when it gets 2 weeks before graduation, we find out that somebody is missing a quarter credit or half a credit, and then we start rushing to give tests and stuff like that. But I would hope that we speak constantly with senior parents and just give them progress reports on I would say maybe a bi-weekly basis, so that they can, so they're assured that their child is going to graduate.
Mr. Pett has another topic. What have you heard on sports from the state?
There's nothing new since the last time we talked about it. There's no sports this fall at all, and there's no news about the spring, other than the tentative plan is to have all the sports happen all during the spring. I know there's a lot of work being done on the scheduling with football on top of volleyball and all of the other sports together, basketball, which is going to be a scheduling challenge. And if it does happen, we will have some transportation challenges, some scheduling challenges, and those types of things. And then there's also the unknown of whether we will, in reality, are we going to be allowed to carry on with any of the sports in the spring? And if so, which ones are we going to be limited? Those are all still unknown. But if it goes as though, if it goes the way that it was last discussed by the state, then we should have all of the sports in the spring. But it's very possible that that will change.
Mr.
Right.
President, at the last district meeting, Ms. Sally Marcus did give us a breakdown of, not a breakdown, but she wanted to curb the rumors that they were canceling activities. I guess their belief is they're not canceling them, they're postponing them. And they're looking to do that coordination in the spring, however difficult that may be. But I think the NMAA is really making a concentrated effort to include as many as the sports as possible, so that the students don't lose out on their activities. But of course, there's going to be dilemmas, like Mr. Perez said, with busing, because you might have 2-3 teams going different locations, or 2 buses taking one team somewhere because they have to have seating, spacing in the seating. So I don't envy them whatever plan that the NMAA is coming up with, but I think we need to applaud their effort for taking that stand that no activities will be canceled. They will only be postponed and rescheduled. This is the feeling we got from Ms. Marcus. Thank you.
Any other questions, board members?
And just
I
so
have a couple. One has to do with special education services and then those that involve the English learners. How are we able to provide what we have said we're going to do, which is to provide some differentiated instruction, one-on-one support instruction for those students who have IEPs? And then with respect to English learners, one of the things that the students must be able to do is to have practice academic language, so that when they are able to master the ELA and math standards, they're able to utilize the academic language of that particular topic, of that particular subject, either English or mathematics. And those are some of our special, unique at-risk populations. So what are we doing, and how effective have we become in developing innovative ways in which we can provide the differentiation of students?
I'd like to start by saying we're well on our way in February, and then we got the whole delivery model of education has changed on us. So we're in many ways back to the drawing board on how we're addressing that. But some of the things that stayed intact are the examining student work process, which differentiate students.
Yes.
Yeah. And also Ms. DeLise, I know she's on here. She's paying very close attention to making sure that each one of those students are getting the services that they need in their IEP plans, particularly as a foundation. But I also know that we're getting creative in the classrooms with the special ed, co-teaching, and those modes of that we know are effective for special ed students. So those are the things that are continuous and evolving. For language development, again, that's in a new world. I've seen it with my own eyes the last few days as far as English language learners and practicing language. Everything that I've seen has been a two-way, I'm proud to say. It has not been a lecture type. And just about every classroom that I've been to, I've seen two-way dialogue. So the students are getting a chance to practice. I've seen some intentional focus on vocabulary with many teachers, and I've seen several the last couple of weeks. And so I think as far as English language development, that's intact from just my direct observations the last couple of weeks. And that's some more data that we'll be collecting. And I can tell you that with the English language development and how that's changed, it's still very much important to us. The other thing I'd like to add as far as a peripheral is we have some TESOL professional development that's ongoing. So we are encouraging, looking for ways to incentivize TESOL teachers to get endorsed so that we can continue to move down that path on English development. And I don't know if you have anything to add. And the other thing is we also have we're continuing the SIOP training. Those of you who know, that's the sheltered instruction protocols. We did that last year, and I know it's been going on for a few years before I came here. But that's good basic teaching techniques in which we continue to advocate, and we continue to bring in that professional development for all the teachers in the district, so that they have so they have an option to do that. And like I said, I like to encourage all teachers and find some ways to incentivize that so we can get more teachers TESOL endorsed.
Thank you. The final comment I have is on the data. Would you pull up those initial charts, Renee? Fourth grade. Can't hear you.
So if I need to add on the English language learners, we have Corazon Barzana. She has taken a deep dive for a 5-year trend on the assessment data on how students are doing at different sites. And we've identified how many students at each site have been identified as an English language learner. So as part of the 3-year strategic plan, this year is the planning year to identify and build not only for EL learners, but build a bilingual program so we can address those areas intentionally. So Ms. Barsana is doing a lot of work and she's going to take a large lead in initiating intentional strategies for ELs.
Okay.
Which ones did you want me to see?
Any of these, this is fine. What I like to do is to commend you, Max and Renee and the schools on generating on-time, real-time data that reveals the performance of the students right now. And of course, this is our new assessment that we have developed that we're administering, and I think it's excellent that we can be able to document this. And so I can tell that there'll be more granular deep diving into the data to find out which populations or differentiated populations of students who are doing well and those who are not. Particularly, you're going to look at those who are in the basic and the non-performing categories and ask the question of why. And what's more critical is how you do that in a collaborative setting amongst teachers, so that teachers by themselves individually are able to be supported by fellow teachers in answering the questions about why are students doing well and why are students not doing so well. I think that collaboration is critical, and it helps to share in developing insights and innovations that can be utilized by multiple classrooms. In this setting, it's really going to be challenging for the teachers, and I think the data is crucial here. So as we go along, I'm assuming that in November we'll get more complete data.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. President. So right here, if we look at 5th grade, total of 227 by November, we want to make sure we've tested 227. So November 13th is our deadline. We're hoping to get it all complete.
Okay. The classroom performances are another aspect of performance assessment. And how are we going to report the classroom performance report card grades of the students in the weeks to come, Mr. Pettis and Renee?
Do you want me to address that, Mr.
Yeah,
Pettis?
go ahead. Yeah.
So are you talking about the report cards, the generated report cards on how to report progress reports, or more into student engagement?
Well, classroom performance is documented by report card grades.
Right.
And so,
Right.
and in the high school level, they get a grade, and all the other grades also do the same thing. How are we going to generate reports or analyses of the performances of students to identify those that are doing less satisfactorily in the classroom performances and those that are not? And is there a relationship between the Illuminate and these performances on the report card, classroom performances?
I'd like to join in on that. So this is one data point, but it's
a good point.
It's an important one because
yes,
it's been a long time coming. This is a
I'm excited.
Yeah, very exciting foundational piece of a learning system that was non-existent as far as I could see. We now have that. We spent last year putting it into place, and now it's exciting to see that we're finally getting our first layer of comparative data, and that's what we need. We need to see if our trend is going upward, downward, flat, but also to continue to answer your question. I like the system here because the questions you're answering, yes, we can query not only classroom by classroom. We can query ethnicity. We can query item by item. So not only by grade level, but we can go into the ELA math, but even deeper than that, we can go into each item and each standard. And I think you've seen some of that where each of the standards can be analyzed, and we know which standards that we're doing good at, which ones that we need more work with. And then back to the bigger picture, this whole system is aligned with our summative assessment by the state. The state's summative, required standardized testing that we're doing is what our district is measured on. Well, this system here, it is a standard based, and it wasn't just handed to us, it's all built. We had to put some work into it. I kudos to Renee and the team and the principals and the instructional coaches and everybody involved have put a lot of work into clustering the certain standards at the certain times of the year, with the outcome and the vision being that all of this lines up to that final summative park assessment, or whatever the name of it is now. I lost track of the different names. It's not the park anymore, but
You missed me?
SBA is close enough, huh? No.
SAT, PSAT.
No. It's a summative, it took the place of park. There's a different
Yeah.
acronym for it.
You missed, yeah.
NIMSI.
Yeah,
NMSIA.
SSA.
Yeah. NMSSA.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So with this lines up to that assessment, and so it has a prediction value. So as we work through these interim assessments, we can predict which students are going to do well on that final summative and which aren't. So that's good data for us also. It's good data for the teachers to have. From the big picture all the way down to the individual items, teachers need that for their learning tools in the classroom and for their collaborative meetings.
Mr. Perez, could I add on the grading system and the report cards, how we're calibrating?
Yes.
So this calibration process, the interim is a tool, like Mr. Perez talked about. And how are we calibrating our grades and failing students through PowerSchool and reporting progress to parents? Right now, as the teachers understand the standards deeply, we are seeing some failing grades because students aren't meeting the high expectations. So right now, some of the principals, we have some nice data systems coming through PowerSchool where you can identify the failing grades and why, and then you can line it up with the interim assessment and the student work through our collaborative effort. So we want to make sure that we're not just giving away grades unless they meet the standard. So how are we reporting out to parents? Parents are getting progress reports, and the grades are being more calibrated than ever before because we have a number of tools to line up the assessments like Mr. Pettis was describing.
I'd like to tied along with this, Mr. President, if I could, this alignment that we're talking about. I'm also really excited about the conversation we have going with NMSU and conversation with Dr. Toivanen at that campus, and working with our high school math teachers and building a bridge between the high school expectations and the college expectations. It's something that I've seen attempted many, many times before in the other districts that I've been in, but I've never seen it get to this point. So I'm really happy to see that the college is working directly with our math teachers to see that there's an alignment. What's happened many times in the past is that all of the students in the high schools, they focus on standards, and then they go to the college and they take this placement test that's not even closely focused on standards. So therefore, you get students that are passing calculus in high school with good grades, and then end up taking this test that's totally misaligned, and they end up in a remedial course. So that's an alignment problem. So I know that Renee and the math teachers and the high school principals they've had a few meetings already to see if we can sort that out and make sure there's an alignment with our high school and the college there. So it's also an exciting piece of the learning system.
I'm sure we'll have go ahead.
If I could add, we've also added some elementary and sixth grade teachers to close the achievement gap in 6, 7, and 8, because that was one of our biggest gaps. So including elementary on up to the college level. And there's a big team that are working every Monday together till we calibrate our math standards.
My last question has to do with the high school counselors. Are they able to identify or list all the students who have begun to select their postgraduate desires and professions that they're interested in. I think it's really important for the high school students to sustain that interest in what's going to happen to them after they leave the high school programs, and have the students begun to do that. Even in this setting, we cannot allow the students to think that nothing is going to happen after they leave high school. They need to be a part of that discussion with themselves. What are you going to do when you finish high school? Have you made a choice? And your next step plans are supposed to ask those kinds of questions. And that's something that the parents need to feel that that the school district is still encouraging the students to focus on the future, and that what they're doing in the classroom today is going to affect what they may become in the future. And so that, I think, is really critical. So to be curious as to whether or not we've got all the students, all the high school students, particularly the seniors, have already begun to say, this is what we want to do. I want to go to NMSU. I want to go to UNM. I want to go into the service. We need to know those things. They need to be encouraged by us and by their parents to start thinking about that question right away. Just a comment on the side to encourage everybody to help our students to stay focused on the future.
I'd like to just throw in there, Mr. President, that it sounds like we need to build a presentation here for the board that would contain high school postgraduate interests and next step plans. So I can put that together for an upcoming board meeting.
It might be important to bring in just have these students talk about it themselves, have a little Zoom between the high school students where they share their idea, their concerns, their anxieties, and what seems to be working for them. Because I think that they're feeling that they're isolated in their homes and not able to have a conversation with others about their future. It's just another thought about when we talk about creating a report. Can we get students to actually articulate what it is that they want to do, and how deep have they thought it through? I think that would be of great help to other students who are not as further along with thinking about that. We've had students who have had early graduation. They've told us, we are going to do this. I'm going to graduate early because I have my plans set for my future. That's what we need to have our students do. Anyway, just an encouragement for us to work with our parents and our communities on that. So it's a good idea. Mr. Pettis, are there any other board members, any other comments?
Yes, sir. If I could, Mr. President, I don't think we should, I need to add, since we're talking about the hybrid progress, academic progress, it doesn't go without its challenges. And I need to mention that through this all, our student numbers are down about 200, more or less, from last year to this year. With the state, just to give out some information on where that stands. It looks as though we proposed and may get hold harmless and use last year's membership numbers to hold us into the next year's SCG budget. So that's a big plus. Now, what I hear is a little bit of a downside is that's not going to happen in transportation and nutrition. They're going to use the actual numbers that of students who are participated in transportation and the actual students who participated in nutrition now, which is not much. So that's something that's going to be coming up through our legislative session. I will be knocking on doors and letting them know that that's not going to work. If we only have 50 students riding the bus, we can't base our funding on those kind of numbers because we'll be able to sustain it.
I would suggest that we have a conversation with our legislators so that they are personally aware of the difficulty in funding transportation and food services in that manner. I think we ought to develop a meeting where we discuss these things.
And just a side note, we have received some CARES Act. We haven't received the funding, but we are in the process of submitting for reimbursement for some CARES Act funds. That'll help the district a lot. Dr. Martin just finished applying for a emergency relief fund through, do you want to say a little bit about that? We got $123,000 that we're applying for.
Yeah, it's called the CARES Act Gear Fund. It's the governor's emergency education
Really?
relief, and it will pay for connectivity. It's specially designed to address connectivity issues of students and districts.
So that funding is it's about the amount that we spend right now on jetpacks.
Yes.
So that's going to be a huge lift for us, being that we've been spending a pretty good amount on the jetpacks and the monthly fees attached to that. So this fund is designed just for that purpose. So fortunate to have that be accessible to us.
Are we using our own district funds for that right now? And so
Yes.
this will replace what we did.
Because I think in general, we pumped in about $2.8 million into technology, as we stated, over the last several months, to get to where we need to be with smart boards and Chromebooks and desktops. And I'd also, while I mentioned Chromebooks, I need to make a comment about where we're at with that. I know that we're still waiting on that last layer of Chromebooks to come in. They'll be in November is the last word we got. But I think it needs to be publicly known that we applied for it way back summer or before summer in the spring. And it's just taken that long for the supplier to get those Chromebooks to us here. And we're not anywhere unusual, because there are other districts that have their schedule to come in January or February. So we're a little bit upfront on that, even though it seems like we're way behind on getting those other Chromebooks here. There are others who are having to wait longer than we are in other districts, just because we applied for those, we ordered those Chromebooks as early as we possibly could based on all the circumstances. So just wanted to make that known.
On that note, do we have students without laptops or Chromebooks right now? No, every one of our students has them.
As far as I know, every student has a device, and it may not be the Chromebook. Some even have a desktop, because that's all we had available. But every student should have either a Chromebook or a laptop or a desktop. So there should be no student without a device. If so, we need to know about it.
I have one last question on all our schools are, all our HVACs working according to our state mandates.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mr. President, Mr. Ortiz, the HVAC systems has been, as you know, a big topic, and that's gone back and forth. So originally, the state says everybody must have MERV 13 filters in their systems, and then I brought you the information saying that, well, that sounds great and all, but if you put MERV 13 filters in our current systems, and it's true with many districts, if not all of them, if you put those MERV 13s in a system like that's not built for a MERV 13, it'll damage and destroy the HVAC system itself. So that doesn't make sense to purchase those. So as the conversation went on and we learned more, and I believe the state and others learned more about this, we changed direction. So now what we currently have, it meets the requirement. All of our schools are at least a MERV 8, which is acceptable to the state. But we are pursuing with TLC and purchasing all the MERV 9 filters. So it seems as though statewide, that seems to be the target, is the MERV 9s, no longer the MERV 13s, but the MERV 9s. And so we're meeting the requirement, but we're going to also move into switching some of those or all of those up to the MERV 9 filters. So that's where that's at. So it kind of made a full circle on us. But we've been inspected by the Public Education Department alongside the not the local, but the state fire marshal. They're working in conjunction to do the audits of every school site with through these walkthroughs. Every one of our schools has been walked through, and every one of our schools has passed the walkthrough safety assessment. There's only one place where we had to adjust out of all the schools, and that was at one of the elementary schools. I think it was either San Rafael or Blue Water, where one classroom we had to separate the desks a little bit further. And I talked to the teachers yesterday about this. They said they still believe it was 7 feet apart, but so we made an adjustment there, and then now with that, we have passed all of the walkthrough criteria.
That was, Mr. President, that was a question I wanted to ask Mr. Lee as far as spacing, making sure that all the classrooms, and I'm glad you mentioned the walkthrough, but are we prepared in case more students come to school? Is the spacing measurements going to allow this, or are we going to have, I don't know where the rumor started that we had overcrowded classrooms. That's not true, but I want to make sure we're prepared in case more students decide to come in and leave the virtual setting.
And I'd like to answer that, Ms. Hunt. Mr. President, so yes, we are prepared, and I'll give you an example. Yesterday is talking, I think it's back to San Rafael or Blue Water. There's one classroom that reached 15, and they're still able to space it out, but it's at the max now. So what the school is going to do is switch the 15 split into the group A and the group B. So then, so that classroom will now be a 7 and an 8 number. So that is working with the hybrid model that we presented. If we get some schools have so few students that they're able to keep the group A going for Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday. Okay. Now, if that group were to expand and they were to grow, then what would happen is those students would have to go 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, and then split it up, and then the other half come back on Thursday, Friday. So the principals are doing a very good job at organizing that and keeping an eye on making sure that the classrooms don't get too big. And I'm glad you pointed it out. There are not crowded classrooms. I haven't seen any, and we are meeting the spacing requirements.
The school district must comply and must adhere to the plan that it's submitted. And so we are must, as Mr. Pettis said, following the rules about spacing. So there could not be a situation where you would leave the spacing to be less than what is required. So it's not that he's just saying we're going to do it. He's following the plan. The plan says we will adhere to the state's requirements for spacing. And so I'm hoping that the public doesn't feel that we're just not going to watch over that. We will watch over that carefully, and we'll implement our plan as we have set forth.
One last comment, and I don't know who to address this to, but do we have, because I know this was out in the community, about not having enough protective gear and the buses not doing, making sure that the students had masks and their temperature were tested. And so we just to assure the community that we do have what is necessary and that each school is supplied with more than enough.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, the answer is if there is any shortage, I do not know about it. I know that we have a pretty healthy stock of masks, gloves, sanitizer, cleansing materials, sanitizing equipment and supplies. So the things are there. If there are cases where somebody's not using them where they should be, I just need to know about it so we can address that. But so far, I haven't heard of that.
Anything else, board members? Public, if any public members of the public have issues or concerns, please convey them to the superintendent. So he'd be more than happy to explore whatever it is that you have concerns with. Mr. Perez, are we ready to continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, Mr. President, under Section 7, there are no action items this board meeting tonight. And Section 8, under consent agenda, I do recommend to the board that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I do have one question. It says decrease in operational fund. Are the programs still able to subside with or exist with this decrease?
Yes, yes, and that's I appreciate that. Mr. Maldonado, are you on? Can you make?
Yes, I am. I'm here, and I did not hear the question. Could you rephrase that for me, please?
Can you explain the decrease on the bar, please, on the operation?
Yes, this is the second decrease that the PED issued based both on the membership and also on the change in the unit value. So based on all of those in our original budget, they had made some adjustments to that and sent back in this, I believe this bar is some $400,000. So our first reduction was just over 700,000, and then this one is 400,000. So it's a calculation change that the PED sent in and asked us to adjust our operating budget down. And we're still just above 31 million though.
All right, thank you. No,
Quite welcome.
That's under supplies, right? Instruction.
We took that bar and applied it, that particular reduction, and applied the money from the $2.3 million fund that we had available to us in reserves. And so we just reduced that by another 400,000.
So I suspect, and I have that we talked about the sweep that they might have at the mid-year. This is either a precursor to that or this is in place of that, and I'm not sure yet. And I'm trying to learn about that, but it is definitely a form of a sweep.
Yes, it is.
So we're not happy about it, but we don't have the authority to say no.
Okay. Board members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
so moved.
So moved by Emily Hunt Daly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Richard Jones. To approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Perez.
Yes, sir. So I made most of my comments on the superintendent's report under the academic and hybrid progress. So at this point, I would ask that we go ahead and go into the next item.
Yes, those of you who are online with us, we are going to go into executive session, and after that, we will come out of the open session. There will be no action taken because this is not an action item. We will then go to announcements and then adjourn. So those of you who have been attending, thank you very much, and we hope to see you again at the next board meeting. Mr. Perez, I'm going to read the executive session. The executive session is limited personnel matters to discuss the regularly scheduled evaluation of the superintendent's performance as permitted under section 1015 H1, H2 of the Open Meeting Act. Is there a motion to go into the executive session for that purpose stated?
Mr. President, just to inform you that Mr. Sandoval is not present anymore. He had to leave.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote and we'll find out. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose stated?
So moved.
So moved by Emily Daly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ron Ortiz to pursuant to the New Mexico Open Meetings Act under sections 1015 1H2 regarding limited personnel matters, discuss the regularly scheduled evaluation of the superintendent's performance as permitted. Roll call vote. Would you please take the roll call?
Dion Sandoval. Emily Hunt Days,
Here.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Yes.
Dr. Guy Archambault,
Yes. Based upon the vote, the motion has passed. The time was 6:45 PM. We will now go into executive session. Give us about 5 minutes, the board members, and we will return into executive session using the connection, the link that Mr. Perez has given to you online. Thank you very much.
Mr. Jones, if you need any information on the other link, please call me.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
We just staying here? No? Okay.
We could.
We need to leave this session.
It's probably easier if we go to the-
Yeah. I brought my big book. Was I supposed to bring my big book?
You could be in another meeting, so
Oh, so we have to close- have to
yeah,
close out.
I'll leave.
Where you need to close up this meeting, Delton.
Karen was sitting right there.
That's awesome. The grades have changed.
Oh, yeah, now they're A students or they're geniuses.
Yeah. Is Veterans Day on the 11th or the 12th?
Veterans Day?
11th Wednesday. Next week we're off.
Okay,
We're off. The Grants is off too, aren't they?
yes.
We'll make Modi make sure of that. Did Modi get recalled yet? Not yet.
Okay, no.
I know they're still trying to get.
All right, let's continue on. You must remember that you are in open session and that whatever you're saying may be recorded. Okay, the board came out of closed session at 7:11 PM. Is there a motion to reconvene the open meeting session?
I'll move to reconvene.
Okay, motion made by Ron Ortiz, seconded by
I'll second.
Emily Hunt Daly to reconvene the open session. Roll call vote?
Dion Sample. Emily Hunt Daly.
Yes.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Richard Jones.
Yes.
Dr. Guy Archibald.
Yes. The motion has passed. The only items discussed was limited personnel matters to discuss the regularly scheduled evaluation of the superintendent's performance as permitted under section 1015-1H2 of the Open Meetings Act. Mr. Perez.
Mr. President, Board, the only thing we have remaining are some announcements. Veterans Day coming up on November 11th. And then the Thanksgiving break. For students and teachers is the 23rd through the 27th. That entire week. The district is closed for the 25th and through the 27th. And that's all we have as far as calendar events coming up in the next couple of weeks, few weeks.
Thank you. Contact Mr. Perez or myself for future agenda items. Adjournment, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Summary by Hunt Daly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Richard Jones to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against? Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned at 7:13 PM. Thank you very much, board members. Mr. Perez. Emily, would you, I'll contact you about getting my packet, the binder.
Okay, will do.
If there's anything else you need from me and Mr. Perez in the next few days, let me know.
Thank you.
All right. Dalton, you may